I agree.
The IHSA playoffs move into the second round today in Park Ridge in Class 8A action as Maine South plays host to Barrington.
Just get the numbers.
Upsets galore last week in the first round in Class 8A. No real surprises, though, with your two teams you'll be seeing today. In Class 8A, the bottom half of that bracket, Barrington knocked off Leiden 28-7 and 4 Maine South. They got by West Aurora 42-40. The winner of this ball game will move on to the next round, and they will get either Waubonsee Valley or Lincoln Way East. That game being played this evening. Happy to have you with us today at Maine South. Dave Bernhardt along with Jack McInerney. And Jack, 8 weeks ago, these two teams met. They met in Barrington. Barrington winning it 41-27. What does that mean right now?
Well, it's a second season. That's exactly what it is, Dave. It's a second season for everybody. Wash out that first game and let's start from scratch.
And for Barrington, player to keep an eye on. You're not going to be able to miss him. Number 3 is Ray Nairo.
He's an outstanding football player. He really is an exceptional athlete. He has over 1,000 yards throwing the football and 1,000 yards rushing the football.
Ankle injury last week, though. We'll have to see how healthy he is. On the other side, though, for Maine South, you will love watching Fotis Kokosoulias. He is fun to watch.
He's an outstanding athlete, and both of these teams are mirrors of each other. They both have outstanding quarterbacks that run and throw, and they both have outstanding running backs. And, of course, this young man is a great – he's actually scored 19 straight touchdowns in 19 straight games. He's a super athlete. He's going to be fun to watch.
8 weeks ago, Barrington the win, but 2 years ago, on this field, in the second round, Barrington a 21-7 winner over Maine South. What does history mean? We'll play it all out in the next 2.5 hours. When we come back, we'll have that opening kickoff. It's 8A round 2 action right here on CSN Chicago. It's the 10th seed Barrington Broncos at 9-1, taking on the 26th seeded Hawks from Maine South here in round 2 action, your Class 8A playoffs. Again, welcome back to Maine South High School, Park Ridge, along with Jack McInerney. I'm Dave Bernhardt, and Jack, you mentioned briefly how these two teams really can become offensively mirror images of each other here today.
Well, but because of the balance that they have, Dave, not only at the running back position, but at the quarterback position. That's a good shot right there of Coach Sanchez, and he's had the difficulty of trying to make sure his kids realize this is the second season because they had beaten Maine South in the regular season in the third ball game. So right there, that transition is difficult. But getting back to the mirror image of both teams, they both have outstanding running backs. They both have outstanding quarterbacks that do a lot of things. The quarterbacks not only run well, but they throw well. So the balance of both teams is really exceptional.
Offensively, the numbers, well, they're big. Maine South averaging 42 points per game. Barrington averaging 39. So we expect to see the scoreboard here light up, and it will be Barrington kicking off here to start this ball game. Saw Joe Sanchez there in his 15th season, 112 wins. The Barrington program that finished second in 1998. Maine South, 3-time state champs in 2008, 9, and 10. On with 95 and 2000, those first 3 under Dave and Sarah, the current head coach here at Maine South. 3 second-place finishes as well. We're underway from the 17-yard line. And the Maine South offense will take the field, and they'll be led by Nick Leongas. Didn't have the biggest name coming into this season, but boy, Jack, has he produced.
I had the opportunity to see him in his first and second ball game of the season, and I was really surprised. He looked like a seasoned veteran, like he had started the year before, as if he had about 10 or 12 games under his belt. He has been exceptional. He's been a real nice surprise to Coach and Sarah and obviously to the Maine South Hawks. He's outstanding.
You'll notice both of our 2 quarterbacks today, not big men. Leongas just 5'10", 188, a senior. You'll see that field spread all day here for the Hawks. And right out of it, the pass complete out to the 32-yard line or so, about the 30, make that the 36-yard line. On the reception, it was Matt Holbrook, wide receiver. Holbrook on the season coming in, that's his 34th catch of the year, 621 yards, comes in with an 18.8 yard per catch average. 6-yard pickup on first down. The first running play to Kokosoulias, and maybe a half a yard. That is it. In on the stop For Barrington, number 42 is Blake Holly, 5'11", 215-pounder.
Well, what these teams do is they really show each other a lot of different formations, which really makes it difficult for the defense to line up. In most cases, they spread you out so far that you would think, well, they can't possibly throw. The thing is, when you have a quarterback that runs so exceptionally well, it turns out to be a good run, even if he's in the backfield, because the linebackers are spread out all over the field.
Workable third down here for Maine South. Youngus, he'll find Luke Hinkamp across midfield. 6'6", 198-pound senior on the receiving end of that Nick Leongas pass.
That's a great play that Maine South runs. It's kind of an option. They run him on a slant, and in behind him, Kokosoulis, he comes on a wheel route out the side. So if they jump the slant, they throw to the back coming out of the backfield. If they jump the back coming out of the backfield, they throw the slant.
Motion from Kokosoulis. He'll get it. And now you have to find him. Botis Kokosoulis to the 30, 20, 10. That's a 49-yard touchdown run.
Well, that marks the 20th game that he scored a touchdown, 20th consecutive game. Last year as a junior, he only played in 9 ball games, but he had over 1,900 yards of total offense. He's not only outstanding running the football from scrimmage, he's outstanding coming out of the backfield, catching the ball, and then on special teams, on punt and kickoff returns, look out. He is a threat whenever he has the football in his hands, and there was a perfect example right there.
So early fireworks here in round 2. Sean McNulty on to attempt the extra point. 49 out of 50. Make that 50 out of 51. And it is a quick 7-0 lead for the Maine South Hawks, thanks to these 49 yards from Botis Kokosoulis. Back in Maine South, let's check in with the...
Yeah, guys, I got a chance to talk with Maine South head coach David and Sarah last night. He said, if you're looking for me on the sidelines, I might be sporting a different look. He said, I started growing out a beard after our 77 in-conference game win streak was snapped this season. He said, it's not a playoff beard, it is a new era beard. So maybe that beard bringing some good luck to these guys tonight.
Logan Mays on the return up to about the 37-yard line. Yeah, Dave and Sarah with that beard, Jack. It's funny, he came up to us just before, about half hour before the game. I looked, I had to stare. I said, who is that guy?
He certainly did look like he just came down from Alaska to see the ball game, because he does grow a fast, thick, heavy beard. But, you know, coaches do what they have to do to get kids excited about some new tradition, and that might be what it is.
And it is Ray Nairo at quarterback, and he'll give to Logan Mays. Mays had that return moments ago, and he is the money man, Logan Mays. Want big numbers? How about 1,354 yards and 21 touchdowns?
He's an outstanding running back. As we mentioned, great balance between both these teams and so much similarities between their offenses.
Mays in the backfield with Nairo. We'll keep an eye on that ankle. Mays again, the short carry, and he carried the ball the first time these teams met this year 27 times against Maine South for 161 yards and a couple of touchdowns in that big win by the Broncos.
Joe Sanchez, the coach from Barrington, likes to set up certain plays, and both these particular last 2 drives there, you saw Mays carry the football, and of course we know that the quarterback is also an outstanding runner, so they can be coming off of the option on this 3rd play here.
John Steffen, big left guard for Barrington, left the field, 6'4", 295-pounder. Nairo to the air, and that one just flutters incomplete. Never got a good grip on it. He was looking for his receiver out here in the left fat. That was Jake Parsons.
That was a audible that he called at the line of scrimmage, because you saw him just prior to the snap look out to the receiver, and it was a wide open slant. I mean, it was a good route. The ball was just underthrown. So Maine South's going to get some good field position here. And the other threat that happens is you got to watch who you kick it to, because Kokosoulis, if he's back there, which he is, look out. I mean, that's instant field position.
He'll be joined back there by Paul Sasso. High snap, Roped down
Nice
nicely.
kick.
And this will carry and hop and out of bounds near the 15-yard line. McMolly with the long punt. Great field position change for Barrington. Early on, it's 7-0 lead for Maine South over Barrington, round 2 here on CSN Chicago.
Which service?
There's Joe Sanchez, and all of a sudden, about 3 minutes into this ball game, kind of back on his heels a little bit.
He really is, but Joey Sanchez has done a fantastic job at Barrington over the last years of his tenure. Over the last 3 years in the regular season, his record is 24-3 at Barrington. He's a Downers Grove South graduate, a Mustang, but Coach Sanchez is one of the top coaches in the state of Illinois.
So you're telling me you went from a Mustang to a Bronco?
He certainly did. He wanted to stay in the barn, in the corral. But he's an outstanding coach, as is obviously Dave and Sarah.
Dead ball, false start.
And we have an illegal
On the
procedure
offense,
call
number 9.
here that'll back this back
Yard
up to the
penalty.
10-yard line.
Still first down. Okay.
Maine South 3 losses this season. You heard Ciara talk about the
Dead clock. Here we go.
Loss, that 77-game loss that came, or 77-game win streak that came with a loss to New Trier. New Trier knocked out of the playoffs in 8A last night by St. Charles East. Youngest will keep, and he'll be ridden down after about a 3-yard pickup. Down at the bottom of that pile is Parker Goodwin, for 44, 5'11" senior.
Maine South is a tough team to prepare for defensively because they have so many options. They have some good receivers on the outside with size. Incamp being one of them at 6'6", so they have big targets that go downfield. Outstanding running back coming out of the backfield, not only catching the football but running it. And again, a quarterback with great versatility, not only throwing it but running it. So it's tough to defend an offense that has so many potential weapons.
The youngest time. And about 5 yards too long, he was looking for Luke Hinkamp.
Good play action pass right there, and that's one of the threats that they have because of the running game being so strong. You'll get those linebackers who are not usually able to help on pass coverage because they're concerned about the run, and then they get man coverage on a 6'6" receiver, and it's usually not a good matchup, but that ball was just a little bit overthrown.
Well, Maine South started out the season with a big win over Montini, then a 1-point heartbreaking loss to Loyola before they dropped their next game to Barrington. Tough early season schedule for the Hawks. Now they're faced with a tough 3rd and long. Kokosuli is trying to find a hole. He'll have one, and he will come up about 4 yards short.
In those first 3 ball games, since that time, though, David, there has been quite a few changes in the lineup for Maine South, whether it be through injury or just through ability of the players. But here's a counter coming back. You can see the lineman leading. He just has such quick feet, and the versatility that he has coming out of the backfield makes it tough for those defensive backs and linebackers to get a real good tackle on him. But they have replaced a lot of kids since those first 3 ball games, and they've been so much better since that time. They've improved dramatically.
McNulty, the high spiraling kick, and that will drive Alec Andrea back, and this ball will take a good roll. Boy, we've seen a couple of good punts here in this first quarter. This will roll dead at about the 26.
It's not usual to find one of your offensive threats to be a tackle. And that's exactly what Sean McNulty is. He's a 6'1", 210-pound right starting offensive tackle, but he's also their kicker and punter who probably go to a Division I school as a special team kicker. He's got incredible distance as far as field goals, kicks the ball in the end zone. He's kicked this year extra points, 49 of 50. Last year, he was 81 of 85 extra points. So he's just an outstanding kicker, and he's a threat offensively.
His only miss this year in field goals, 59-yarder. Here's the pitch to Mays, and he is tracked down very nicely.
And when you have a player like that, that can be the difference when 2 teams are so evenly balanced as both these teams are. It could come down to the kicking game and special teams.
A couple of yards on first down for Ray Nairo, just a junior back there. Taking over for Johnny Davidson, the 2-year All-Stater, and Nairo will go nowhere. We'll see whether they even give him any forward progress. Interior of that defensive line, Emmett Zima, Kevin Jarvis, and Izzy Erasco.
Coming in the season, Nairo did not play a whole heck of a lot, but they knew about him from the lower levels. They knew he was an exceptional athlete. But Davidson was a starter for 3 years and had led the school in all the school records offensively.
Looking for the first down, is picked off at the 38-yard line. To the 15, 10, 5, touchdown, Jack Hoffman.
Now he just jumped that route right there. It was kind of a late developing play getting out there, but just good coverage. The linebacker was underneath. The safety was over the top. The linebacker just jumped that and took it down the sideline and took it in for 6. Big turnover very quickly for Maine South.
Now check that, that's Cam Stacy. Stacy with the interception.
And Cam Stacy's an outstanding athlete. He also, he didn't start in those first 3 ball games defensively and plays both ways and does a lot depending on personnel and field position.
And with 6:40 to play in the first quarter, the offense has scored once. The defense has scored once. And the Hawks lead at 14-0. Here it is.
You can just see he basically throws into double coverage, and he just picks it off, goes down the sideline. But there's an outstanding block to let him get into the end zone. But that was just excellent coverage. He wasn't pressured into the throw. It was just a bad read. And a good pick into the end zone, and that block right at the end takes him into the end zone for the 6. Big transition here for Maine South in his very first quarter. Puts Barrington on their heels. This is one of the problems, Dave, when we talk about playing somebody twice in the same season. Of course, Barrington played them in the 3rd ball game and beat them 24-27. And, you know, all of a sudden here we're looking in the first quarter and look at the score already.
And let's give credit where credit is due. I was right the first time. Jack Hoffman with that pick 6. And if Barrington came here looking to duplicate 2 years ago when they defeated Maine South 21-7 in the 2nd round, they have a little bit of work to do here. Still early.
And if you look at the past few games that they've had, Barrington really hasn't been tested the last couple ball games. But the last game that Maine South played last week, they won in the last minute, beating Aurora West.
Yeah, the Blackhawks from West Aurora had the ball 1st and goal from the 2-yard line and fumbled it away in the last couple of minutes.
Right.
McNulty has it teed up at the 40-yard line. 3rd time he will have kicked off today. It will come to about the 2. This is Andrea. Great coverage. He doesn't make it to the 20-yard line.
This is outstanding coverage right here. But again, you got to have a lot of faith in your special teams. And when the kids get jacked up like this, knowing that they don't get in the ball game all that much, and there's certain players that do play a couple of times on special teams, but for the most part, most of those kids on the kickoff and kickoff return teams are not your normal starters. So they get their chance to get in there, and they take advantage of it.
Great tackle there by Paul Sasso as around the end comes Josh Babicz. Babicz, 6'5" senior. He's headed to North Dakota State. Of course, that's the school for #1 pick Carson Wentz, quarterback this last year. 5 consecutive football championship subdivision titles for North Dakota State.
And they get a lot of kids, Dave, out of the Chicago area. They've been recruiting here very heavily for the last 5 to 10 years.
A little bit of a delay. It's a first down or very close to it. Let's see. Mays gets the carry. And they'll say move those chains. First down Broncos.
Occasionally you'll get people say, well, why is a kid going to North Dakota State? My goodness. Well, let's compare the weather. I mean, you know, there is some continuity to that. Although North Dakota State plays indoors. They're in a dome stadium. I'm 95% sure of that.
Well, you know, speaking of the weather, it can't get much nicer for a 2nd round playoff game than we have today. Temperatures in the mid-60s, just a slight breeze at the back of Barrington. Nothing doing there. Michael Curran gets his first carry of the day. It goes for about a yard, and that is it.
Beautiful.
There it is, 66 degrees, Sonny, you got to make that sun bigger. That's how sunny it is here today. 10 miles per hour and a wind out of the southwest.
I got my sunscreen on. Just an update on that where we talked about some changes in personnel. Maine South has actually 5 new starters from when they first played Barrington in that third ball game.
Nairo deep downfield, nearly intercepted again. He was looking for Babicz at the 35-yard line, and it was Jack Hoffman that nearly had his second pick in about 2 minutes.
Well, they want to go up top to loosen him up, and you can see right here he's got a strong arm, just overthrown, and that's actually good coverage. He didn't have him beat. He was over the top. That's what you need to do. Now, sometimes an incompletion like that can really loosen up the secondary, knowing that all of a sudden the defensive backs say, hey, he's got a pretty good arm, so I better not play him too tight or too soft. Checking the sidelines to change the play.
To the near side. Well overthrown. He was looking for Jake Parsons. Well covered by Stacy.
Good coverage, and thrown into the short side of the field is kind of difficult, but for a right-handed quarterback, rolling to your left and trying to get your shoulders turned up so you can make that throw is usually rather difficult. And again, Maine South is going to end up with very good field position here, unless the big thing on turf, as I always say, is you got to catch the football, because if it takes those turf bounces, you can lose 20 yards in field position. So these guys back here want to catch the football.
McMolly on to do the punting once again. Another good kick. Sasso will have to retreat to his 25. Not much room in the near sideline, but he makes the most of it. Across the 50 to the 30, 20. Paul Sasso takes him to the 25-yard line all the way down inside the 15.
That's the advantage of catching the football, is the fact that you got automatic good field position right there, and I think we've got a flag down on the sideline. But again, catching the football on turf is so very important. Perfect example right here. You can see going down the sideline, he's got a little wall set up. Let's see if we can
go back in the back. On the return team, that's a 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul.
You could see him going
First
down
down.
the clip down the sideline. A good wall was set up. That's going to come back. But again, just the concept that he was able to return that punt so far back is psychologically puts Barrington a little further down mentally in the hole, realizing that, boy, these guys, no matter what we do, their special teams are good, the offense is good.
Good field position right here with 4:39 to play in the first quarter. Hawks playing with a 14-0 lead.
I can guarantee you, though, Joey Sanchez will keep this team up and make adjustments.
5 state titles, a couple of second-place finishes for Maine South.
See how that field is spread out.
Jet sweep to the near side, and about 7 yards on the pickup. On the carry that time was Adam Molina.
Anytime you can make that kind of yardage on first down, that's a big, big plus. It's so crucial on first down, especially at the high school level, to get either 4 to 5 yards, because that really opens up the game plan a wee bit, and the things that you can do gives you opportunities to maybe throw the ball down the field and still come back in the next 2 downs and pick up that first down.
Kokosulias, traffic, and a pile surges forward. He'll get about 4 yards there.
Close.
I think he has it.
Yep. That's a big offensive line to run behind. They average 243 pounds up front. From left to right, O'Malley at 240, Jarvis at 340, the left guard. He's on his way to Michigan State. The center's 190. He doesn't get much food in that chow line. Right guard 235, and the right tackle, McNulty 210. They average 243, and they're good.
Kokosulias again dances through. He's grabbed momentarily. He's able to get that positive yardage. Ben Strife had him, and Strife had to kind of ride the horse there for a couple of yards.
You know, we talked about the balance, Dave, between the offense with the quarterback and the running back. Between the quarterback and the running back, Leonidas and Kokosoulis, they average 425 yards of total offense in the game. That's totally amazing. Just 2 players average 425 yards. So try and defend that.
Score 42 points per game. People have had a tough time doing it. Little play action.
Open.
Liangas looking for a big one. Ooh, broken up at the last minute. That could have gone down to about the 15-yard line.
Again, many times incompletions can have an awful lot to do with what the defense is. Obviously, it's underthrown a wee bit. He had an opportunity to catch the football.
Grant Leichter on the coverage.
Yeah, he's got a chance, but again, sometimes incompletions still add up to make that defense think a little more.
Third and 7, Kokosoulias in motion. Looking right all the way. Liangas, a little bit of trouble.
Oh,
And
what a play.
knocked away. What a great job by Parker Goodwin. That ball just floating, and how agonizing. He didn't know if he'd be able to get any elevation to get his hand on it, but he did.
That was a great job right there. In most cases, quarterback scrambles. That one it breaks down, and this is a shot I love. You can see what the quarterback's looking at. Just tries to dump it over the top, but great coverage. In many cases, defensive backs break down when the quarterback scrambles because they lose sight then of the receivers, and it usually results in a big play. In that case, they had great discipline, excellent defensive play.
Oh, and they needed it too. Matt Holbrook could have taken that, turned, and gone. McNulty try to find a spot here. Came back on him a little bit. And he's not too happy with himself as Barrington will have the ball down 14-0. Their offense, the last time they played this team back in the third week of the year, rolled up 450 yards, including 285 on the ground. And Jack, my thought is that when you look at the quarterback, Ray Nairo, he's rushed for over 1,400 yards this year. We haven't really seen him run. I think that ankle could be an issue.
I agree with you, Dave. You know, in many cases, he's a tough kid, but he obviously must be limited in what he can do because his stats do not equate to what he's doing so far today.
Short gain by Mays. Big offensive line for Barrington. It's been the reason for their success. Tanner Lang at the left tackle, 235. John Steffen, we talked about him. 295, 235, 230, 245. That's a big high school line, much like Maine South.
Let me do my math real fast, Dave. I think that's about 248 on those 5. That's amazing.
You are on top
Well,
of it.
you know, that's a Fenwick education.
Flag goes down, as does Nairo.
Barrington doesn't seem, David, as crisp as they've been earlier in the year. They seem a little slow, a step off.
You know, you wonder, obviously a lot of film work done by both of these teams, adjustments that made by Maine South following that week 3 loss to Barrington, which could also be the reason for some of the uncertainties you see out there you referred to.
Personal foul on the defense, number 78.
Good one.
That's a 15-yard
But as
penalty
we
from the end of
mentioned,
the run.
there is been a personnel change in the defense for Maine South. There's basically five different players starting right now. They were not involved in those first 3 ball games. By involved, I mean didn't start. They played, but they didn't start. So that transition, in many cases, it takes coaches a few games to figure out really who they want to start, and they've made an awful good adjustment.
First down by way of a personal foul penalty. Josh Babicz has come in at quarterback. 6-yard pickup on the run. Babicz came in last week. He ran the last 3 series. Actually threw a touchdown pass in his first play from scrimmage after Nairo went out with an ankle injury.
And that's a credit to him, but at 6'5", 215, it kind of changes the dynamic. Even the snap of the center to him has to be a little higher.
Mays again will get the handoff from Babicz, and the other thing it does, a little bit short of the first down. Oh, you may have it actually. What it does, it takes your best wide receiver out of play as well.
So you end up actually offensively playing with 10 players. Now that sounds silly, but you take your top man out of there as a threat, as a wide receiver. You put him back at quarterback, so that threat is gone for the most part. And now you're almost playing with 10 players offensively. And he's not as quick as Nairo is back there.
Will take it himself. An opening. Babicz First down to the 36-yard line of Maine South.
He must have had some headphones on and heard me or something, because he didn't like that comment I made.
When he made that first cut, he glanced up this way at you.